Hey folks, this is Brian. This is RPGaDay 2020. And the keyword for today is beginning. And I've got two beginnings. The first beginning, which I've done on a number of different videos, is how I got started with role-playing games. I was in the 8th grade. It was 1979. And I was spending the weekend with my buddy Brett at my brother Alan's house. And he brought out this game he had, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And he had us roll up a couple of characters. I believe we were both fighters. We kind of understood, what strength and intelligence and dexterity were, and we knew that the higher the number, the better, that kind of stuff. But the rest of the things were pretty much over our head. But we made our characters, and we were in town, and outside of town was this dungeon. So we went to go to the dungeon, to make names for ourselves, and that kind of thing. So we hit the dungeon, and our first encounter, I don't recall if it was outside the dungeon or if I was inside, but our first encounter was with wolves. And the wolves attacked, and we attacked back. We were rolling our d20s, and we didn't really understand how the mechanics worked or how to stuff, but my guy ended up dying. So my buddy Brett, his character went back to town. I rolled up a new character, and we went back to that dungeon. So we get there, and again, the first encounter we have is with wolves. And again, my character died. I think that was the end of it for us for that session, that evening kind of thing. But even though, my guy died, obviously wasn't a lot of investment into him, which would make some sense of why it, was that important. But what caught me was the fact that we could sit at a table with dice, paper, and a pencil. And we could simulate medieval combat. And at that point, I was hooked. I went home. My mom bought the basic box set, and me and Brett and Ed, and at times Brian Peterson, we were playing. And in fact, we eventually, there was something about basic that just, all weapons do a d6 of damage? What? That made no sense to me whatsoever. However, if you were a dwarf, you did a d8. If you were an elf, you did a d10. So, what's going on with this? So we eventually all migrated to AD&D. We had the player's handbook, we had the DM's guide, we had the monster manual. Ed, got pretty much all the stuff. And then we were playing D&D every weekend at one person's house or the other. And I remember buying the modules, the City of the Hill Giant Chief, that $6, $5, little flimsy thing, but there was that picture of a giant on the front cover, and the guy, I think, trying to hide in the corner, kind of deal, and just having this piece of a world there in print right in front of me that we could interact with. I was sold. We did that Descent into the Depths thing, I don't know how many times. It was in the box set, if I remember right. And then we got the other giant modules. They came out, and then there was Descent into the Depths, and the Kuatua, and the Vault of the Drow, and just the magicalness of it was just amazing. And we, there's a handful of other modules and stuff we did. We did all the funny things, the Barrier Peak thing with the Vegapygmies and the laser rifles and stuff. We had some times, but we also had a lot of time to do other games. We did a ton of different games. We did Bushido, we did Land of the Rising Sun, we did, Squad Leader, a board game, but there was an RPG on World War II, I forgot what it was called. And then, there was Thieves Guild, and Harn and a bunch of other crunchy sort of systems and stuff that we had all played through and done stuff, and we take people and we convert them over and all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun. But I have a second beginning. Fast forward 40 years, 38 years, and Chaosium is back. And they publish RuneQuest, role-playing, and Glorantha. The quick start rules. I think that was actually free RPGaDay. I think it was 2017. Maybe 2018. But anyway, snag that. I'm going through it. Yes. And then the actual book comes out in PDF. I snag it, and then the actual book comes out. I grab it, and I start grabbing as they're producing stuff for the RQG. I'm grabbing it, and well, I've messed with the RuneQuest system, the BRP engine through RuneQuest 2 and RuneQuest 3 from Avalon Hill. I even bought some of the Mongoose RuneQuest stuff just to have materials, although I don't use them for anything. I've even tried to struggle through them to find spells that aren't in the current book, but have some kind of affiliation so I can do some other stuff. But they're on my book collecting dust. So anyway, so I'm a RuneQuester at heart. I'm not a Gloranthophile, though I am getting more and more that way, because as I developed my own campaign in my Glorantha, and as I'm researching stuff and trying to tie in what I'm trying to present with what does published materials on Glorantha say, and merging those together, that is meeting my creation, my artistic spark. That's a good word, spark. So I am eating this stuff up. It is great, and I wanted to run it, and the only way I knew how to run, because people around here, I've been trying to interact with the game stores. Most of them are actually wargaming again, of all things. But then there's a bunch of 5e guys back there playing and stuff. When I say guys, I mean generically people. I did run, well, Chaosium is trying to run their games at conventions, so they're looking for GMs. So yeah, I'll go. So I fly out to Ohio for Origins, and I fly out to Indianapolis for Gen Con, and one of the second Origins, the second Gen Con. I missed my third Origins because my son's high school graduation was that same weekend. But I did do Gen Con, but then I started doing PAX Unplugged. But PAX Unplugged is more Cthulhu, although we were able to get a couple of RuneQuest games in there. And I want to help Chaosium. Specifically want to run RuneQuest for people to help them understand the balance between crunchy and Gloranthan goodness that you can get with this game. So that's my second beginning. What are yours?